Today we are talking to Robert Weinberg. We're actually sitting in Robert Weinberg's dining room here in Denver, and we are surrounded by his incredible photographs that he has taken of some really amazing people. He also comes from a line of artists because behind me is also some pottery that I think you said your brother did. Mm-hmm. And then there's even some paintings here that another family did. So obviously it sounds like artistry runs in your blood, and I'm really excited to interview you in person. Mm-hmm. And so, Robert, share with us a little bit about your career as a photographer and maybe some of the transitions that you had to go through to start your new life as somebody who's blind.
Mm-hmm. First experience with photography was in high school at George Washington here in Denver, where I took a photo class, and that kind of got me interested in, and then during the Vietnam War I did some work for what was called VISTA, Volunteers in Service to America, and I was trained out of the University of Utah to work in communities that were poor, and I worked on the Uinta Ure Indian Reservation as a kind of shall we say, an introduction to working with the Indian community. Although when I was placed, I wanted to go into a urban setting, and I worked for almost 9 months at East St. Louis, Illinois, which is pretty much a black community. While I was there, I bought a camera from Stanley Camera in St. Louis, which is on the other side of the Mississippi, and I started photographing the people I worked with, my volunteers, and with that came great passion that I kind of opened the door to something I just truly loved. And now that I'm 74 years old, even though I am legally blind, I continue to do my photography. I've just in the last year and a half have completed a new website of all different sorts of work that I did. A lot of it was to address the pandemic, because these are fun photographs. Part of one of the galleries is of jumpers. I took from another photographer that used to work for a Life magazine. He had a photography he did of people jumping. He called it jumpology.
Jumpology, I love that.
And I kept the tradition going for more than 40 years now.
Wow.
One of the galleries in my website is jumpers. One gallery is all different groups of people, different ethnic, and one gallery is of abstract images, landscape images, and that's just been currently. But in the early 90s, I started losing my sight, and I had to realize that what was happening with me would not come back. In other words, I became, by the time of 1998, I worked with a doctor at Kaiser, Dr. John Pope Jr., who was excellent. He was very good, but after all the tests, he told me that I would not have my vision coming back, but what he said is the vision I had, if it stayed, would be probably the best situation. I have peripheral vision, but I have central vision loss. So I have fairly good mobility, but I have to work with all kinds of adaptive equipment and technology. JAWS is something I work with. It's a text reading software. It's called Job Access with Speech. I work with a CCTV, which enlarges images, and I also, the same unit that it's called Merlin, that has the capability of doing what's called OCR, optical character recognition, so I can photograph text and have it reading to me. But the whole transition from being sighted to not being sighted, and then having to go through divisional vocational rehabilitation here in the Denver area through the state of Colorado to start to learn how to deal with my blindness has been now 25 years. And I worked with other people who are blind that teach me mobility, that teach me activities of daily living through DVR, people that were employed by DVR to do a whole gamut of teaching. And through the years, I've worked with other people that teach me the technology, and that has given me independence. I live by myself in an apartment where my parents and my aunt used to live, and what used to be Crestmore Downs, it's now called Lex at Lowry. But the amazing thing is I was able to transition from my photo business, and through DVR I was given a lead to work for an agency that's part of what's called the NIB, the National Industries for the Blind. And the National Industries for the Blind is the largest employer of the blind in this country. I got a job working on Buckley Air Force Base in what's called a base supply center. It's a not-for-profit business, and we sold mainly clothing, deployment clothing, camo clothing for people that were getting deployed all over the world. I was able to fit people with all this clothing because of my partial sight. And I've literally fit all the clothing for hundreds and hundreds of soldiers over 17 years of working in this store. I really enjoyed working in Buckley Air Force Base, where it is in Aurora, Colorado. We also were selling a lot of office supplies, a lot of utility product, and we could order any kind of product. I have only recently retired because of getting older and just wanting to enjoy my life and my previous work, my photography. So I was able to, with learning all the technology and working in the photo business with some retail businesses. Awesome Photo was a business I worked in that sold professional photo equipment. I worked as a printer and a custom processor at Colorado Photography, which is no longer in existence.
Yeah.
And I also worked with a friend who ran a business called Cameron Photographic Resources that rented photographic equipment, that had rental studios, and then when we still had film, we were renting darkroom space, and then as technology changed, he had suites for digital photography. So I was able to go from the photo business, learn all these things, all this technology, and using some of the experience I have with lenses and whatnot to be able to have all this adaptive equipment so that I could work in this store. I was also trained by one particular person at a base, F.E. Warren in Cheyenne, Wyoming. His name was Larry Copcho. He's become a friend, but he really helped me working with the technology, which is for retail sales and turning a computer into a cash register, basically.
That's great, Robert. Can you share with us a little bit about once you got the diagnosis? Like you said, you're sitting there in the eye doctor's office, and he kind of tells you that this is it. This is what this is your life. This is your new life. How long did it take you to go from that diagnosis to actually getting into Division of Vocational Rehabilitation? Was that fairly quickly, or?
No. When I first started losing my vision, I went into clinical depression.
Okay.
It took years until that I was able to handle this, and I had to go and get training. I think that's one of the important things when you do lose vision, is that there are agencies in the Denver metro area, Colorado Center for the Blind, and the state agency, Colorado Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, that can teach you technology, mobility, all the issues that you need to do. But it's not that this just happens overnight. This is something that once you lose your sight, this is your life, and you must embrace learning about how to deal with technology, to how to deal with your mobility, to how to do things like continue to cook, continue to enjoy things, just like I work with Colorado Talking Books Library, which I've worked in the beginning with tapes that had books on it, and now it's a digital reader. Yeah. I read more now because of this digital reader through Colorado Talking Books Library than I ever did when I had a sight.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that, because I think, especially for people who are newly, losing their vision, I think it's good to hear that it is really hard. That transition period is very difficult, and like you said, you went into clinical depression. I think that's a norm, and I think it's okay to talk about that and accept that. But I love how you said about to move on and to become independent, you have to embrace training, embrace this. I think you said your new life.
Yeah. Yes, in the support group through the Foundation Fighting Blindness right now, I have to kudos to Rob Lee, who has been helping people now in our group that come in the last few months that they have just started to lose sight, and people are interested in their mobility, and that he has been the person to arrange this and to teach people, since he has RP, retinitis pigmentosa, and he's been using a cane more than 30 years. I've been using a cane for about 25 years, but he's a younger man, and he's been able to get some of the new people we have in our support group and to explain about using a cane, to be able to see there's different kinds of canes, there are different lengths of canes, and the techniques is definitely, if you use a cane, it's not that you just buy a cane and you go to use it. You need to be trained with this cane.
Yes, it's like any other tool.
If not, you'll go right over the edge.
And it's not pretty. It's not pretty.
And it's not pretty. No, just lately I do walking frequently, and I haven't done much of it because we've had all the smoke from the fires in California. But just recently, once I was going down a path where there are hardly any people, I had a cane, and all of a sudden, boom, I hit this chair. And who put a chair in the middle of a pathway? And same thing on the same route that I was taking. I was caning, and all of a sudden, I didn't even see it, but this woman almost ran right into me.
Oh, no.
And this is very typical, is that even with the peripheral side I have, it's like there's big holes in my retina.
Yeah.
And I have to also scan when I'm working. So anyways, these things you must learn if you want to be independent. If you're not, it's to make your life much harder.
Yeah, and I love how you've been rattling off all these amazing resources and services in Colorado. And I mean, I'm somebody who has been visually impaired since I was 9. I use a guide dog as well as a cane, but that's one reason my parents moved me to Colorado as a kid, is because Colorado does have a lot of resources and services for the blind and visually impaired, and it, if I always say, if you're in one program and it doesn't feel like it's a good fit, try something else, because there really is, there are a lot of options. And So Robert, tell me a little bit more about you were transitioning, from being a professional photographer for most of your life to, you went through DVR, Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. How did you and your counselor sort of decide to get you involved in the NIB program?
There was. This is kind of not the easiest thing to talk about, but with my ex-wife, she had a degree in vocational rehabilitation, and she was the perfect person to work with me. And in the beginning, she was always very good. But one of the things she said to me was, "You need to work in a place where you don't have to move around." In other words, one location. And I work with Julia Zanin. Boy, I remember that name, Julia Zanin.
I remember Julia.
She was a person that was working. She was schooled in blindness because she herself was partially blind, but she was working through divisional vocational rehabilitation for employment. And I'm a real strong advocate for employment for the blind. And she got me the lead on this job at, it's called Envision Express, which is part of the NIB, National Industries for the Blind. Envision Express, where I worked, was owned by a not-for-profit business out of Wichita, Kansas called Envision. And they were a business that had been started in the early 30s to train adult blind. And now with the NIB, the National Industries for the Blind, there are kind of a whole variety of agencies within them that teach, all the techniques of mobility, of activities of daily living, and everything from Braille to all the technology, JAWS, to Magic, which is a software that enlarges everything, ZoomText, which is the same thing.
Yeah.
So, is that this does not happen overnight.
Yeah.
I am now 74 years old. I have been legally blind close to 24, 25 years.
Yeah.
And it is something that sometimes I bring people in here to work with me with my computer mainly, to keep up on everything, and I've been lucky to find especially one tech guy that had his own business, and he's worked with me with my computer.
Is that Scott?
No, Scott Land.
Yes, I do know Scott Land.
No,
Scott Chaplick.
This is someone that has had his own business, working mainly in the PC environment, not with the blind, but I'm the only one. But he is very adept, and in fact, he sold his business to a business out of New York called Twin State, but he still works for him. I think he owns part of it.
That's great.
His name was Dan Wynn.
Okay.
And he would sell computer, and he would load it with everything, and he could work with JAWS. I mean, he would,
That's great.
But I also have worked with another brothers. I have to give notice to them, William and Henry Estrada, and another man who is totally blind, just like Bill Estrada. His name is Paul Sandoval.
Yes, I know Paul. Yeah. I know Paul.
And he's been here and worked with me. He's incredible. Wow. Incredible.
Wow.
As a teacher, because he used to work with what's called Beyond Sight. Beyond Sight is now, what's his name? Scott
Chaplick.
Yeah.
Yes, and actually Scott sits on the board of Audio Information Network of Colorado. So so it's amazing how we, even though we're a very large community, a lot of us know the same people.
Oh yes. It's a small family.
It is a small family, but a mighty one.
Yeah.
Well, Robert, I really wanted to.
Okay.
I love the idea and the concept that I feel like you've sort of gone full circle. And maybe not full circle.
In some
it's
ways.
not full yet, because here you are back working with
with my
photography?
archives.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not just in your archives, right? You're still shooting jump shots, so.
Well, yeah, I can still photograph. It might not be perfect, but I have used my photography for holiday cards to get more people to jump, just to do I do abstract work, and now I am working with Kevin Smith, who is the assistant curator of photography at History Colorado. I've created a relationship with them. I just met with him. In fact, yesterday afternoon, it was just by coincidence, I was going down to see a show at the Denver Art Museum, and then they're just 2 blocks away, History Colorado on 1200 Broadway, and Kevin called me yesterday morning, and I said, I'm going to be down there. So we've been wanting to get together because he's going to come here, and I'm going to show him more work.
Wonderful.
Because some of this work goes back 30, 40 years old, and so yes, it's that my life with my work goes on and on and on and on. And the one thing I thought, if I could recreate my business, I don't want to be doing weddings and where I'm having to run. I don't have the energy, but I'd love to continue to do portraits. Oh. My business was mainly people, whether it was journalistic, whether it was portrait, whether it was, whatever it was, is that I was always working with people. And the portraiture, I taught portraiture for about 3 years through a business I worked in, Camera and Photographic Resources, and the basics of, very traditional kind of lighting, but most everything now is just, off of the hips, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not.
So are you using your cell phone in any sort of
No, I'm working with a Nikon D7200, which is a single lens reflex camera. It's a digital camera. It's a partial chip. It's not a full chip. Okay. But it's still an excellent camera, and I can work mainly with that. But I use everything now. I use my phone. Yeah. I have a Sony small camera that I use for travel. That's for fun. Yeah. But with my D7200, I can basically use that more as a portrait camera.
Wonderful. So I do want to put in a plug with your website, because I've actually been to it. You gave it to me the other day, and I've gone to it. If you have any sort of residual vision at all, I would definitely check it out. Tell your family and friends. And it's Weinberg Photographics
with an S at the end.
.com. So WEINBERGPHOTOGRAPHICS.com. Yeah. So one of the things too, one of the other questions, what is one takeaway that you would like our listeners to take away from our community conversation today?
I think is that once you start losing vision, you do not waste any time. Number one, you go to a good ophthalmologist or optometrist to first get some kind of information of what is happening with you, and to be able to get that information, because I think in my own experience, once you start losing sight, you don't know where to go to get help. But the first thing is to get a medical opinion through a good ophthalmologist or optometrist to see where you are, because then I think you need what is called a visual, what's the name?
Like a low vision, low vision evaluation.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
A low vision evaluation, and I can recommend someone there. Her name is Kara, Kara Hansen at UC Health out in Anschutz. She does a low vision evaluation, and she can tell, go through, and this is a long appointment. When you
Yes.
work with someone like that, it's at least 2 hours.
Yes.
So they can judge what is going with your vision, and is this temporary? Is this permanent? And this can go over a period of time.
Yeah.
So it's not something. And the other thing is once you determine where you're at, is that you need to start the process of becoming independent, and that is learning about how to deal with your low vision or total vision by going into one of the agencies in this community: Colorado Center for the Blind, Colorado Division of Vocational Rehabilitation.
Yeah.
There are also individuals that help with mobility and other
Yep.
things, but these are agencies in the Denver metro area.
Yeah, and
That
we have the independent living centers throughout Colorado
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Up north near Fort Collins,
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
Insight Skill Center,
Yeah.
and then there's several over on the western slope.
Yeah.
So I love that you're sharing that. Well, it's hard and it takes a lot of work, but if you can, the word, that term, pull up your bootstraps kind of thing, because it really is. There is a whole life out there.
It's not easy, and that's the other thing, is to go and to get help. For a lot of people, this is a process, and having people in our support group for the Foundation Fighting Blindness is that they're just, it's going to take people a while, that because the majority of people that have what's called partial sight, that's the majority of the community in this country.
Yeah.
In other words, people that are totally blind are the smaller percentage, maybe
Yes.
8 to 10%. Everybody else, like myself,
Me.
and Penn, and people I know, my friend Kathy Young,
Yes.
friend Ron Lee,
Yeah.
all these people
Yes.
are,
Yes.
it could be progressive. I'm
Yeah.
very fortunate that my sight has been stable for over 20 plus years.
Yeah. Well, Robert, thank you
Okay.
so much for spending some time with me today.
Yeah.
I've told Robert I would actually like to do a whole series on him, because he really does have a fascinating life. He's a wealth of knowledge that we can all learn from. So I really want to thank you. It won't
most
be
welcome.
the last
Anytime.
time you Anytime.
And
I
here's the
know
thing.
where you live now, so I can
When
find
we
you.
get rid of all the smoke, I'm coming to Boulder.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Take care and have a great day.
Yeah.